The night sky above Earth was quiet, but the silence felt wrong. The stars shone as they always did, yet something in the air made people uneasy. In the International Space Defense Command control room, the lights from dozens of monitors lit the tents. Faces of scientists and officers, a sudden alert flashed on one of the main screens. One of Earth's communication satellites had gone dark within minutes, another one followed, then another. At first the staff thought it was a system malfunction, but soon they noticed strange black shapes in the outer orbit slowly growing larger with every passing hour. Room filled with the hum of computers and the soft but sharp voices of analysts running calculations. Every black dot moved in perfect formation. None of them answered. Hails, no signals came back from them. Someone whispered that maybe they were just meteors, but deep inside, everyone knew meteors did not fly in such organized lines. The head officer gave the order to keep all findings classified for now. The public would only hear that there was a technical issue with the satellites. He knew fear would spread faster than the truth, and there was no way to prepare the population for what might be coming around the world. Strange things began to happen in the major cities. The military presence quietly increased. Armored vehicles rolled into position under the cover of night. Troops moved into empty buildings. Soldiers were ordered to speak to no one about the real reason. Even in remote villages, people noticed the sudden hum of aircraft in the distance. Some thought it was just a drill. But high above in the darkness, the formation of black shapes kept moving closer and closer to Earth. In the control room, a sudden sound broke the tense silence. An incoming signal appeared on the screen. It was not from the approaching objects nor from any known base. It was from a deep underground human installation that most of the staff did not even know existed. The message was short, written in a simple code meant only for those who understood its meaning. It said only 3 words: "Let them come." No one in the room spoke for several seconds as the meaning settled in. This was not just a warning, it was a plan far beyond. The atmosphere aboard the largest of the alien ships the commander studied. The blue and green sphere that filled the viewing deck. His species had watched this planet for decades, waiting for the right moment to strike. He had been told humans were unorganized, soft, and too attached to their small world to defend it with strength. The blackout of their satellites was only the first step. Soon their communication would crumble and their defenses would be blind. He gave the order to advance, and the black ships shifted smoothly into attack formation in Earth. The scientists watched their screens as the alien fleet moved in closer. The head officer knew that this was the point where most planets fell. Their defenses would scatter in panic, trying to protect every city at once. But Earth had been preparing for this for much longer than anyone outside a few circles realized. The cities the aliens would see as rich targets were already empty. Civilians evacuated days before. The streets were quiet but not abandoned. They were bait waiting for the trap to springing. The darkened command room, one of the younger officers leaned closer to his superior and asked if they should try to open communication with the ships again. The older man shook his head and spoke in a low voice. "Communication comes later. First, they have to believe we are helpless." He looked back at the screen where the alien fleet grew larger in view. With every kilometer they closed the distance they were stepping deeper into a plan they did not know existed, a plan written years ago by people who had studied the way predators thought and knew exactly how to make them overconfident outside the walls of the control room. The world seemed normal in many places, but there was a current of tension that no one could hide. In quiet neighborhoods, families sat inside with the lights off, not knowing why they had been told to do so. In military hangars, pilots sat inside cockpits waiting for orders they were not yet allowed to hear. The order would come only at the exact moment when the trap was ready. Back in orbit, the alien commander stood tall on the bridge of his flagship. The Earth rotated slowly beneath them, and in his mind it was already his. He had taken part in dozens of planetary strikes before, and they always ended the same way. The locals might fight, but they never fought with unity. His tactical screen showed no sign of organized defense. He almost felt bored by how easy it appeared to be, yet somewhere deep in the shadows of space, far from his sensors, human eyes were watching every move he made. Human head officer in the control room stared at the main display, and slowly a small, cold smile touched his lips. "Let them come." He thought again, just as the alien commander spoke his own final command for the first stage of the invasion. moved to strike Earth. The Black Fleet began its descent into the atmosphere, unaware that every path they chose had already been calculated by the ones they believed to be their prey. The alien strike team descended through the thick clouds toward what they believed was a vulnerable human city. From above, they saw rows of buildings. Standing silent, the streets below were empty. No movement, no heat signatures. The commander of the landing craft expected chaos and resistance. Instead, he saw nothing but stillness. A few streetlights flickered in the distance, casting pale yellow pools of light on cracked pavement. The alien soldiers spread out weapons, ready their sensors. Scanned for signs of life, but found only faint traces. Then, from somewhere deep inside the silent city, a small sound drifted through the air. It was a child's laugh, light and carefree in the dead of night. The commander froze for a moment, confused. By the sound, then, he signaled his troops to follow it. The aliens moved carefully through narrow streets. Their footsteps echoed off walls that were too clean for an abandoned city. In the shadows behind broken windows, hidden human eyes watched every step. Above them, in old apartment buildings, human soldiers in black armor lay in wait, rifles, steady fingers resting on triggers. The laughter came again, this time from an alley at the far end of the street. The aliens pushed forward, thinking they had found a straggler or a family left behind, but when they entered the alley, it was empty, except for a single battered toy lying on the ground. As the commander stepped closer to inspect it, a soft click echoed through the air before he could react. The ground beneath them shook violently, a blast of heat and dust threw the soldiers off their feet. Flames shot up from the street as hidden charges detonated. Buildings on either side of the alley collapsed inward, cutting off their retreat. Commander tried to call his ship, but the comm unit only hissed with static above the city rooftops. Small human drones rose silently into the air and began circling like metal hawks in the command center miles away. The human head officer watched the operation unfold through the live drone feed. He saw the alien team trapped in the kill zone, unable to break through the debris. He gave a simple order: hold the perimeter. Let them think there's still a way out. The soldiers on the ground obeyed. Staying hidden just outside the aliens' line of sight, the invaders scrambled to regroup, dragging wounded soldiers into cover. Every move they made was tracked by infrared scopes on the far edge of the city. Another alien squad entered a wide plaza. Thinking it was clear, they spotted strange human devices scattered across the open ground, curious metal cases about the size of backpacks. One alien reached for one, and a human voice called out from somewhere unseen. Too late, the case erupted with a blinding flash and the sound of tearing metal. Several more explosions followed, turning the plaza into a storm of fire and shrapnel. The survivors tried to retreat, but every street they turned down had been blocked by collapsed buildings or burning barricades. For the first time since entering orbit, the alien commander felt a flicker of uncertainty. This was not random resistance. This was a pattern designed to pull them deeper into danger. His training told him to retreat to the ships, but even that path was now uncertain. When he tried to call the fleet again, all he heard was silence. No answers, no coordinates, no orders. Just the faint hiss of dead air. The shadows humans began to move. The black-armored strike teams emerged from hidden entrances beneath the streets, closing the distance silently. Their faces were masked, their steps controlled. The aliens caught sight of them only at the last moment. Dark shapes moving in the smoke. The commander realized too late that this city had never been unguarded. It had been waiting for them, like a mouth waiting to close around its prey. Far above the city, in the control room, the head officer leaned forward, watching the last of the alien squad disappear into the dust and smoke. He gave the next quiet command: begin Phase 2. Somewhere in the ruins, a hidden signal beacon activated, marking the aliens' exact location for every human strike unit in the area. The trap had only just begun. The smoke from the ruined streets drifted upward into the night sky, covering the alien squads like a shroud in the chaos. After the traps exploded, the remaining alien scouts tried to pull back, regroup, and find safer ground. They moved quickly through narrow alleys, stepping over the rubble of collapsed buildings. But something was wrong. Their own ships in orbit were silent. The commander barked orders into his comm, but only static replied. The silence from above was more unsettling than the explosions. Humans they could see and shoot at, silence they could not fight. The soldiers moved faster, hoping to break through the perimeter. They reached a wide intersection choked with wrecked vehicles and fallen street lamps. The commander signaled a halt. Scanning for threats, the air was heavy and still. Then, from somewhere deep in the fog, a shadow shifted, a faint metallic sound followed like the click of claws against stone. The commander turned sharply, aiming into the mist, but nothing was there. He motioned the squad forward. One by one, they stepped past the wreckage and disappeared into the swirling smoke. A moment later, the sound came again, but closer this time. There was movement. A shape darted between the ruins, quick and low. The aliens fired into the shadows, but hit nothing. Then a soldier at the rear of the formation vanished without a sound. His weapon clattered to the ground and lay still. The squad tightened into a defensive circle, breathing hard. Eyes scanned every broken doorway and shattered window above them. Small drones glided silently, their dark outlines barely visible against the smoky sky. The aliens tried to hold position, but it was as if the city itself was swallowing them each time they moved another. Soldier failed to reappear from hidden positions in the upper floors of half-collapsed buildings. Human snipers took careful shots, never revealing their exact locations. The aliens returned fire, but the bullets hit only empty walls or decoys set up hours earlier. The commander realized his squad was being hunted. Then a new shock came. A voice spoke through the commander's comm unit, clear and sharp in his own language. It was not an alien voice, it was human and calm. You should not have come here. The commander froze. Hearing his own language spoken so perfectly by the enemy was more unsettling than the gunfire. How did they know? How long had they been listening? The voice spoke again. Every step you take brings you closer to the end. Panic began to spread among the soldiers. The traps had been deadly, but this silent, invisible enemy was worse.
No.
The aliens broke formation, trying to force their way toward an open street. But the road ahead was lined with strange metal objects, half buried in the ground. As soon as the first alien stepped close, they erupted into bursts of blinding white light, temporarily blinding everyone in range. The humans moved in under the cover of that flash, striking fast and then melting away again. Before the aliens could recover, in the underground control center, miles away, the human head officer watched through multiple feeds. The alien squad's formation was broken and their morale shattered. He leaned toward the microphone, speaking to the field units. Keep the pressure, but don't close it yet. Let them run deeper. The field units obeyed, pulling back just enough to make it seem like the aliens still had a chance of escape. The path ahead would only lead them further into the network of traps carefully laid days before. The alien commander ordered a retreat toward what he thought was an open zone for extraction. But the ground they moved into was the oldest part of the city, a maze of tunnels and narrow streets, the perfect place for an ambush. As they disappeared into the dark passageways, the fog swallowed them again, and the shadows moved silently after them. Somewhere unseen, the human voice spoke once more in perfect alien tongue. Welcome to the hunt. The alien commander stood on the cracked roof of an abandoned building, staring at the tactical display on his wrist. The map showed scattered readings of human activity, but they looked disorganized, spread thin, as if the defenders were reacting. In panic, it gave him a brief flicker of confidence. Yet something about the pattern nagged at him. The more he studied it, the more it felt wrong. The scattered human units were not retreating at random. They were shifting slowly, forming a curve around his forces. He had seen that kind of movement before on other battlefields, but never from a species this primitive. It was the start of an encirclement. He ordered his squad leaders to press forward, break through the weak points, and secure a path back to the fleet. But no one could raise the fleet on. Comes the orbital silence continued with no explanation. His second-in-command suggested sending a distress beacon, but before they could prepare it, the sound of distant detonations rolled through the air on every side. Faint booms echoed like distant thunder. In the distance to the north, a column of fire lit the horizon. High above Earth, the alien fleet in orbit was in chaos. Human forces had used disguised satellites and drifting space debris. 2 block key approach lanes, mines hidden among the wreckage, detonated as alien ships tried to maneuver through stolen fragments of alien technology adapted over years. The humans had built weapons that pierced even advanced shields. Several alien Reinforcements entering Earth's orbit were torn apart before they could fire a shot on the ground. The alien commander received fragmentary reports. Entire units had gone dark without warning landing zones that had been secure only hours earlier. Were now cut off. Every safe route he had planned was gone, replaced by narrow kill corridors. The commander tried to push toward one of the remaining landing zones, but his scouts reported human armor moving in to block it. These were not the slow ground vehicles from the invasion briefings. These were upgraded, fast and heavily armed, built to close the distance and strike hard. In the human underground command center, the head officer stood before the massive central screen. The alien positions blinked in real time, every move tracked by drones, satellites, and hidden sensors. The officer gave the order to close the trap, but leave one gap deliberately unguarded. The aliens would see it as a way out and take it. That path would lead straight into the largest ambush of the campaign. Around him, teams of operators fed targeting data to units across the city and beyond. Every move was coordinated down to the second. Back on the streets, the alien commander took the bait. He ordered all units to converge on the apparent weak point. Human resistance there seemed light and scattered. The alien forces pushed forward faster, desperate to break free. They moved through a wide boulevard lined with empty high-rise buildings, but the buildings were not empty inside each one. Human strike teams waited along with remote operated weapon platforms. As soon as the alien vanguard reached the halfway point, the first barrage began. Sniper fire from above, heavy shells from hidden positions, and explosives buried under the road erupted all at once. Panic swept through the alien ranks as they realized the open path had been an illusion. Vehicles at the front of the column were destroyed, blocking the way out. The commander barked orders to regroup, but interference made it impossible to coordinate. A human voice broke through the static in his own language. This is where it ends. In the fog and fire, the humans advanced from every side, closing the ring tighter and tighter. The alien commander finally understood that Earth's defense had never been desperate. It had been patient and precise, and now the blade was turning toward him. The alien forces that had once marched with confidence now moved in silence. Their formations were loose, their movements hesitant. Every few streets another squad failed to report in, and no one knew if they had been destroyed or simply vanished. The fear was beginning to spread faster than orders. Rumors whispered between soldiers about humans who could appear out of nowhere, strike without warning, and disappear before a shot could be returned. The commander tried to stamp out the fear, but even he could feel it pressing at the edges of his thoughts. In one of the captured districts, the aliens tried to establish a new supply line. They set up sentry drones along a narrow avenue and began unloading crates from armored transports. But as the second transport arrived, a sharp crack echoed through the air, and the lead driver slumped forward dead. A second shot destroyed the control unit of a sentry drone, and then there was nothing but silence. The aliens fired into the windows, lining the street, but hit only shattered glass and empty walls. By the time they regrouped, the supply crates were gone, stolen right out from under them without a single human being seen elsewhere, a small alien patrol returned to a landing zone, only to find it stripped bare. The ships that had been there were gone. The equipment they had left behind was missing. The landing pad itself was scorched, as if something heavy had burned out of the atmosphere and then lifted off again. The aliens searched for tracks but found none. No tire marks, no footprints, only the faint smell of burning fuel carried on the wind. One soldier muttered that the humans were ghosts, and no one corrected Jimin, the human underground command center, the head officer watched the alien retreat patterns develop on the central map. Each pullback was exactly what the humans wanted. The more the aliens fell back, the more exposed they became. Smaller groups were easier to trap and destroy. The officer gave the order to tighten the pressure, cut off the runners before they reach open ground. Strike teams moved in from every angle, hitting quickly and then melting away into cover. Did humans never stayed in one place long enough to be pinned down? Every encounter chipped away at the aliens' numbers and morale. The alien commander ordered his remaining ships to prepare for extraction. But when he transmitted the coordinates, the only response was a burst of static. A moment later, every alien communication screen in the sector flickered. The static cleared and a human face appeared, speaking in the commander's own language. The words were slow, deliberate, and impossible to misunderstand. You walked into our trap. The transmission ended before anyone could trace it, leaving only the heavy silence of soldiers who knew they had been outmatched across the battlefield. Alien units began abandoning their positions. Some tried to break through human lines in small groups and were cut down. Others simply disappeared into the burning ruins, hoping to hide until rescue came. The commander looked at the shattered remains of his forces and knew the truth. Rescue was not coming. The only thing ahead was the closing ring of an enemy that had never been prey at all, and the sinking realization that every step they had taken since entering Earth's orbit had been exactly where the humans wanted them to go. Above Earth, the last alien warship drifted in low orbit. Its engines dark and its shields gone, the great vessel that had once led the strike now floated. Powerless, surrounded by human ships of every shape and size, some were sleek and new, others looked patched together from scavenged metal, but all of them had their weapons locked on the alien flagship. Inside the bridge, the alien commander stood alone, staring at the frozen blue planet below. His crew had been captured or killed. The silence of the ship felt heavier than the vacuum outside. A sudden chime broke the stillness. A message was coming through, not from his own people, but from Earth's leaders. The screen flickered to life, showing a human figure in military uniform there. The voice was calm, measured, and spoken in flawless alien tongue. "We let you come. We needed your fleet. Now it's ours." The commander's claws tightened on the edge of the console, but he said nothing. Behind the human, the blurred shapes of engineers and soldiers moved across what was clearly an alien docking bay already repurposed by human forces. The message continued: "Your people thought they were hunting prey, but you were only delivering the weapons we needed." On the surface of Earth, human troops moved through the last alien holdouts. The battles were over in minutes. Entire squads surrendered without a fight. Those that resisted were swiftly surrounded and captured. Above them, human pilots guided captured alien craft into secure hangars. Every piece of technology would be studied, taken apart, and rebuilt stronger than before. This was not just victory, it was an upgrade. The commander's screen changed to show a massive human fleet forming around the crippled alien warship there. Ships moved with the precision of a hunting pack closing in for the final bite. The human voice spoke again. "You will return to your people. You will tell them what happened here, and you will tell them this Earth does not forgive, and Earth does not forget." The image faded, replaced by the cold glare of the stars. The alien commander was escorted to a transport shuttle by human soldiers. Their armor bore the marks of battle, but their movements were steady and sure. No one spoke as the shuttle carried him away from the flagship. Through the small window he saw Earth growing smaller behind him, surrounded by the swarm of ships that had claimed the skies. The planet no longer looked like a target, it looked like a fortress far across the galaxy. The alien council sat in silence as the commander's recorded warning played on the central display. They listened to the calm human voice and saw the captured fleet behind it. Not one of them spoke when the message ended, but their faces told the truth. The fear in their eyes was the same fear that now spread through every system that heard the story of Earth's ambush. A warning had been sent, and the galaxy would not forget.